resource person is Reverend Father Luciano Ariel Felioni. So he's going to discuss with us the Philippine experience, but more particularly on the community-based initiatives in his parish. So Reverend Father Felioni was the priest coordinator of the Social Services and Development Ministry and is priest in charge of the formation of theologians of the diocese. He was formerly the parish priest of the Mother of Divine Province Parish in Payatas, Quezon City, which is an informal sector, and the Holy Trinity Parish, Commonwealth, Quezon City. He also served as the Vicar Foreign Good Shepherd Vicariate in 2013. He studied at the Faculty of Philosophy or the Pontifical Catholic University of Buenos Aires and Ave Alicia Moru de Justo de Buenos Aires, Argentina. He also studied at the Faculty of Sacred Theology, Loyola School of Theology, Ateneo de Manila. And a bit of trivia. He has been with us in the Philippines for 20 years and he speaks fluent Filipino. So may we call on Father Felioni.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great honor to be here, and I feel very inadequate because maybe I'm the only no expert on drugs in this field, but my expertise comes only from experience of being in a community infested by drugs, heavily suffering from the war on drugs, and eventually we're able to come up with a creative communitarian idea that is producing some good fruits that I want to share. The community-based rehabilitation program. Well, I was listening, I said I need to say three things as an introduction, three premises to what I'm going to say. Number one is we try to have a holistic approach to the problem on drugs. We believe in our community is neither a police or a health issue. It's a developmental issue that is bigger than health issue. So in other words, it's not the police station or the hospital the one in charge of taking care of the drug problem, but the whole community, because it's a problem that affects the whole community. Therefore, it should be on a developmental way answered. The whole community has a problem. Not those who are using drugs have a problem. We have a problem, and we are part of the problem, and therefore we are also part of the solution. Second premise is we can work with the government. We can work with the Filipino government successfully. It's difficult, but it's possible. So I'm going to share how we have been working with the government, all the branches of the government and at all different levels of the government. And my realization is it is possible to work with the government, and we should build bridges rather than walls. Fighting the government will bring us nowhere, especially on the ground. Especially on the ground. We will suffer a lot if we go against the government. We will benefit a lot if we work with the government. And so that's the second premise. The third premise is drugs are our enemies, but not each other. Neither drug users, nor government, nor civil society, we are not enemies to each other, but drugs are destroying our communities. I've been 23 years in the Philippines, Payatas 12 years, Barangay Commonwealth 6 years, and Camarin, Caloocan 4 years, to know that drugs are destroying our communities, and it's a problem we should take care of. how, how did we came about with this community-based rehabilitation program? We realized we were immediately visited by the police with the Tokhang operation. Barangay Commonwealth, Barangay Payatas came a little later. But Camarin and Bagong Silang in Caloocan were immediately visited by Tokhang. And so people came running to the parish, afraid of surrendering. They were ordered to surrender to the police. They were afraid to surrender, and so they came to the parish. So we came face to face with the problem. The problem is, after these people surrender, there was not a proper way of rehabilitation. And so the simple question came, how are they going to stop using drugs? Because if you are a person with addiction, then you have no free will to stop. If you have the free will to stop by order of the government, then you are not an addict. So we said, how are they going to stop the problem of addiction if we only require from them to surrender, but we do not offer a way out of addiction, that is a rehabilitation program? And so that was the first thing that caught the attention of my parishioners. Many people came running to the parish, came asking. So we had a meeting as early as August with our pastoral council, and we drew 3 guiding principles. First, we need to support a campaign against drugs. We want a community free of drugs. So we discussed, do we want a community free of drugs or not? And so the parish came to the realization, we do want a community free of drugs. Okay, we agree on that. Second agreement is, we are committed to protect life. Life is so sacred, and so killing the addict cannot be the way. So we made it very clear, we have to defend and protect life. Number 3, we need to be proactively part of the solution. Rallies, manifestations, lighting candles, mass protests are not helping those affected by drugs. And that's not a way of being proactive. Being proactive is give them a chance to change. And so we said, let's do something really helpful. We came with the idea of having a community-based program, a place where they can go during the day, but go home during the night, outpatient program based in the parish. We call it healing, not killing, to put it in a simple way. The main objective is healing of the person with drug substance abuse and not getting rid of them in any way, physically or literally. You know how affected Camarin is by the killings. You don't need to be informed of that, you know. So the first thing is, we had a discussion with the pastoral council about the problem, and we decided to talk with the barangay captain. And that was a beautiful, fruitful meeting, because the barangay captain was very pressed to come out with numbers and to force people into surrendering. But because he is a very decent human being, he didn't want to send the people to surrender without knowing what is going to happen to them. And we were having killings every night in our area, okay? As many as 4 to 5 per week. So when I talked with the barangay captain, he was so positive about this. And he said, let's do it. Let's join force, the barangay and the church, and let's come up with a community program so that we can accompany them to surrender, but after surrender, they can be rehabilitated. And so we agree that we will work barangay and simbahan together. We decided to work on these 5 pillars of rehabilitation. We didn't know anything at all about drugs, so we might be right, we might be wrong. But this was what came from our initial meeting. We need to tackle the health issues. So they need professional health help. There are many attached sickness and diseases that come from with addiction, especially to shabu. Malnutrition, tuberculosis, skin diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, and others. So we need to tackle the health issue. Another area is the family, what is called the codependents. We need to work with their families. When a family is dysfunctional, you cannot treat only the user. The whole family needs assistance, how to reconnect with each other again. A third area that is key, essential to this program, is livelihood. Drugs in the Philippines is organized as a pyramid scan. So every user is a small-scale pusher, and therefore drugs becomes a source of livelihood. That if you intend to stop, you have to offer an alternative. They need an alternative source of income. Fourth, the core of the program, psychosocial intervention by professional trained psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, community development, etc. And fifth, spirituality. A lot of studies on rehabilitation show that the connection to the divine, it's a very inspiring force for people to stand up and fight for a new beginning. And therefore, we realize that it's essential that we have a spiritual approach, but really oriented to reconnecting these people. Basically, the key word that involves everything is connection. This is our barangay captain. We had the meeting, and we decide that we will together accompany them to surrender. We will physically accompany them and bring them to the police to surrender. So somehow they can feel accompanied and protected, but also they can see that day not as a dark day, but as a new beginning, because they will be also starting a community-based program for rehabilitation. We put the surrendering day on September 1, 2016. So before that, we focus in two things. We raise volunteers. So we made a campaign. We announced in all the masses at church, we are going to have this program. Those who are willing to have a different approach to the war on drugs, to give the people a chance to help on healing these people in whatever capacity, please come forward and volunteer. The first volunteers were former addicts, people that have been rehabilitated, and they knew the hell of addiction, but also they knew that it's possible to change. The first volunteers were former addicts. But interesting, take note, the first financial donation came from a police officer, a member of our community, that going to Mass said, "Father, I believe in healing and not killing, and I have a very small salary." He was a PO1, but he said, "I commit to give you 500 pesos a month for this." That's the first donation from a police officer. Okay, so we put a surrendering day, and there we went to the police station. But we were very afraid to move. So I called all my friends in the media, said, "Please be there. It will be difficult to kill a priest in front of the cameras." And but I didn't trust media alone. So I called my bishop and said, "Bishop, please be there." But I didn't trust my bishop alone also. And I said, "Mayor, please be there, and vice mayor and congressman." So it came out like we filled up a basketball court of people to succeed the surrendering. But we agree, let's put it as a new beginning. This is a hopeful day. It's not a doom day. It's a hopeful day. It's the beginning of change. And so that what happened on September 1. We brought 44 to the police. That's it. That's our precinct on the City Hall Extension, Caloocan North. Mayor Malapitan, yung maliit, yan. Yung nakapula ay si Vice Mayor Asistio. Yung obispo namin ay sobrang liit, kaya pirasong ulo lang makikita doon. Okay. That's the surrendering day. Everybody gave their speech. They surrendered. They made the pledge of surrender, promise to stop and never to use drugs again. That's very funny, no? That's a joke, really. It's so unprofessional to ask an addict to stop and never use again without any kind of rehabilitation. And then we have the meeting with the media, very important. All throughout, the media has been very important, covering, accompanying, and trying to present a different perspective in this war on drugs. A proactive perspective. Something is possible. It's possible to do more than complain. It's possible to do more than blaming the government. Posting on Facebook helps no one. Making a rally also helps no one. You have to go to the ground and work. And the media has been very actively promoting this. I'm very thankful to the media for that. Some media has been terrible though. And sometimes international media trying to force me to say that all evil comes from Duterte and we are all against Duterte. And I said, I'm trying to talk about these people. These are persons. They need rehabilitation. Let Duterte alone. We are trying to say that it's possible to heal them. Why to force the issue into fighting the government? We try to work with the government. It's not easy to work with the government, but my big message today is not impossible to work with the government. And if we work with the government for the good of the people, respecting life, doing professional work to heal people, it's possible to have good effect. And so, thank you for the media that have been wonderful, and God bless those who have been not so wonderful. We had a stakeholders meeting, another big, important learning. In this stakeholder meeting, we called the police. This was August, remember, August, we were very afraid at this time. So the whole police came on full regalia, uniform, barril. We were afraid. But we had a meeting and we said, we need to work together. You are part of the community. The police is part of the community. We cannot have a peaceful community without our police officers. But please, I remember I told, please, stop the killings. And the reaction was, we are not killing. And I said, I didn't say stop killing. I said stop the killings. I'm not charging you with the killings. I'm saying let's protect our community from killings. Riding in tandem are coming every night and kill our people. Please be sure that this stop. Otherwise, it's impossible to work for rehabilitation in a climate of fear. The good news, we are more than 9 months. How many months? From September. How many months na? 8, 9, no? 9 months after, the killings have dropped consistently in Barangay 174 in Camarin. Consistently. We were able to work with the police. And I will tell you in what areas we were able to work with the police effectively. And in what areas we were not able to work effectively. Then it came the most important partnership that we had in our program, that with the CADAC, the Anti-Drug Commission of the City of Caloocan. When the Anti-Drug Commission of Caloocan heard that we were having this program, they approached us and said, we want to help you, Father. We want to work with you. Let's make it effective. And so how can we help? And so we, together with the CADAC, we put up a program. The program is Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's very intensive. Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for 6 months. So I asked the government of Caloocan City, send us a psychologist, which they did. So we have a resident psychologist paid by the city. Do the detox, which they did, paid by the city of Caloocan. Provide the weekly random drug test, which they do. For 6 months, they have twice a week random drug test, paid by the city. Psychiatrists, paid by the city of Caloocan. So it's a big partnership between the parish, community, and the city. And the city is providing all the professional intervention. Psychologists, psychiatrists, medical doctors, and social workers. The city is doing that part. That's why I said it's possible to work with the government. The LGU of Caloocan, it's also part of the government. And so we are working with the LGU of Caloocan very well. After the surrender, we have different activities. So let me go faster. The first activity after you surrender is you have to be screened by the Department of Health to be categorized in which of the 4 categories of addictions are you. If you are category 1 or 2, you can be on an outpatient facility treated. If you are category 3 or 4, you have to be treated on an in-house facility. The perception of the people is everybody is category 4, meaning to say aggressive, criminals. The reality is more than 80% of the people are category 1 or 2. That is on a very low level of addiction. And so this is very treatable, and these are the majority of our people. And this should be done on an outpatient. For a people on category 1 or 2 to be confined in one rehabilitation center is as stupid as a person with sipon na pinapasok sa ICU. That's the comparison. And so, big rehabilitation centers are not the solution. The majority of the problem, it has to be done on a community-based outpatient facilities. Detoxification comes for those after the screening, and then we start the program. So we started with some contacts. Narcotics Anonymous is a very good they follow the 12 steps, and they are giving twice a week session in the parish. Then we start to organize institutional partnership with some universities. So with Ateneo de Manila, CEFAM, they are providing counseling, and they have trained also our counselors. UST University have provided livelihood. Saint Scholastica University have given us the modules. They crafted the module for the codependents, the families of the users. And Saint Isco also has helped us do the briefing for the children of the killed. We have so many that we gather them regularly, all the families of those who have been killed in the parish, and many of the children have succeeded, how the parents were shot in front of them. Saint Isco is working with the briefing of these children. So there are a lot of institutional partnership with Caritas Manila, with different institutions. And then the presence on media has helped a lot. To cover that it's possible to have a reaction, that it's possible to organize a community, and it's possible to really work on this community. Now, one thing that helped us a lot is we did a unity walk as early as September. And for the first time, we were able to bring the whole community together. Senior Citizens Association, alumni of the schools, the police force, the surrenderies, the church people, and we did just walk around our barangay saying, we want a barangay free of drugs. The effect of this, I was not pro this. I'm not so much pro rallies and companies. So when we discussed this, I said this is a waste of time. But my parishioners insisted we need this. And so I agree, we did. And I realized they were right. Because the effect is that there was a consciousness in the community that we all want the same. We want a community free of drug. The effect after this, an increase of volunteers. From 6 or 7 volunteers, we passed to have more than 40 volunteers. And that was a direct effect of this consciousness that we as a community, we all want the same. We all want the same. We are not against each other. We are together on this. And then we need formation. We had a lot of formation seminars, and especially for the volunteers. None of us are professionals except for the professionals paid by the city. All volunteers are people of goodwill that want to do something and help. But we all need some formation to understand how drug works, how relating to these people work. There you have formation seminars. It was a long preparation and then work. I want to go a little faster so I can share the end of it. So these are the areas. On the area of health, we have medical checkup, regular detoxification, feeding program, and exercise on daily basis. Feeding program and exercise is daily. Then on the area of family, we have codependent groups that meet once a week, parenting seminar, marriage encounter. On the area of livelihood, we have pay for work, TESDA trainings, and product marketing. As of now, we are producing hand wash and dishwash for selling, and they are able to make around 1,000 pesos per week per person, per patient, and that's helping their livelihood. Most of them are breadwinners, so it's livelihood is essential in the program. We call our product ahon. That is a Tagalog word that means rise up. Rise up. And then psychosocial intervention, counseling session, therapy sessions, one-on-one, psychologists, psychiatrists, Narcotics Anonymous, etc. Every day they have some psychosocial intervention activities. On spirituality area, we have Life in the Spirit seminar, Prex, Jesus and Me, charismatic groups recollection, confessions, and then we imported a very good modules coming from the Church of Pastor Rick Warren in the US. They have a whole ministry on recovery, and they have very good materials to work with people with addiction. So they send their senior pastor, and we coordinate with the evangelical churches, and we work together on that. The graduation on first batch was on March 30 in Caloocan City Hall, and then we have our Mass on April 3 in Our Lady of Lourdes Parish. The graduation, this is the part interesting. It is the first group in the country to be officially delisted from the watch list of the PMP. We really fought for it with PDEA and with the PMP, and eventually they agreed. But PDEA was very strict in the demands. So you need to be for 3 months drug-free every week in your drug test. And then your psychiatrist report has to be positive. And then the police report that controls the transaction has to be a positive report. With all that, we send all the folders to PDEA, which evaluates, and they do the final approve who will be graduating. Now, those who are candidates for graduation were passed to the PMP, and the PMP issued a certificate declaring this person a drug-free individual and therefore mandated to be delisted from our official list. The first group in the country to be delisted, and it was done. It's not we are hoping to, it was done noong March 30. That's why I said engaging the police is difficult, but it's possible. And I don't know if there is a picture here, but the chief of police of Caloocan himself gave the certificate to these people. They are officially delisted from the watch list. And so second batch started around November, and on Monday, May 8, we are starting the third batch. 3 batches already going on, and it's possible. The killings somehow dropped. The community is a better community, I think, because we realized we were part of the problem. It was not only them, it was us. We were not connecting with people. We were doing nothing for these people. And therefore, we are part of the problem and hopefully part of the solution. And so we feel we are a more secure community now. At the beginning, a lot was to risk, especially our own lives. But I think it was worthy to do it, to realize that there is other way of addressing the problem of drugs. And so let me share with you as I end 3 recommendations. Number 1, go down to the areas. I think we have too many people talking about drugs without even knowing the name or the face of a drug addict. And that's where our conversation shoot up to the academic level without considering the reality on the ground. Visit the people. Not even from the national government. No visit to the people. And so we need to know them by name, to talk to them, to ask them, what brought you down? Kailan ka nadulas? What motivates you to fight again? This cannot come from us. The solution to drugs cannot be an intellectual debate. It has to be based on reality. And we need to ask those who are suffering from drugs, what brought you down? What helped you up? We need more conversation with the people on the ground. Please, we need professionals on the ground. And we need money on the ground. It's not easy to sustain this kind of program. Especially for a poor parish like my parish, it's not easy. So we need more money on that. We need more professionals on that. Second recommendation, mobilize the business sector to provide livelihood. The kind of simple livelihood that can be manufacturing experience, to produce something so that it can be incorporated into the 8 hours rehabilitation program. So at the end of the day, they will be able to bring some money home. Otherwise, they are forced to work. And if they go to work, they cannot attend rehabilitation sessions. And if they cannot attend, PDEA will never delist them. And so the cycle continues and continues. So people to live need money. What a discovery. But I think if we really want this kind of program to function, we have to realize they also need money for their food, to give to their children when go to school. So livelihood is important. Business has a key role to play. We have big companies donating billions to set up huge rehabilitation centers that are empty. And nobody donating a few thousand pesos to go to the market and buy food for concretely existing programs. We have to be more realistic and less monumental in our approaches. And third, empower communities, an approach from below rather than from above. I believe in every area, the solution to our problems come from our communities. Governments come and go. They change policy, but the problems in the community remain. The big solutions will not come from Malacañang or from CBCP or from Ateneo de Manila. It will come from below. The real change happens on the ground level. But people on the top, universities, government, and the church, we can do a lot to empower communities. And I think that's the challenge for us. Empower communities to start this kind of work. The communities are suffering and they want to do something different and they want to be proactive. But we need professionals to help us how. And so, finally, let me tell you, it works, it's difficult, but it's possible to stop the killings and to produce the healing. It's a long way, it's a long work, it's a difficult work, but it can be done. And at the end of the story, what we will have is a better community. A better community. Not bringing them out of the community, not killing them, not secluding them, not imprisoning them, but bringing them back as active members of the community. This is the approach that we try to share with the whole world. And I give thanks to the media, again, for all the times that they have agreed to give a positive note on this kind of problem. I know that contradiction, fighting, and it sells more. I know that a priest insulting the government and the president insulting the bishop makes a good headline. And a group of former addicts selling a little hand soap made for living does not make a headline. But I give thanks to the media that have taken the time to highlight the positive. Because I believe, strongly believe, that we can bridge to the government, we can dialogue with the government, and in doing so, we will have a better country. And I strongly believe that fighting with anyone, government or with anyone else, fighting will never produce peace. Fighting will never produce harmony in our communities. It's just by dialogue, working together, that we can really change the culture of drugs in the Philippines. Is it possible? I would say yes. Personally, I'm convinced that it's possible to make a great impact in the drug situation in the Philippines. But if we start working from below, from the ground, from the communities. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Father Felioni. We still have one more speaker, so can you just hold on a little bit? We'll hear first